Hi guys, this is Jackie Cooper from Jcoopertravels, and today I have Alex here. And Alex is really a special connection that I've made on LinkedIn. And what I'm really excited about is both the business that he's involved with as well as his location, because Alex is currently in Romania. And I have not, as of yet, had the privilege or the honor of interviewing someone on the podcast from Romania. So I'm super excited about him being here. Alex, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and also share a little bit more about the business that you're involved with?
Yes, of course, Jackie. First of all, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here as well. And hello to anybody else who's listening. Regarding myself, I am an entrepreneur and business owner. Most of my life I've been doing sales. As you mentioned, I am currently in Romania. Maybe not everybody's heard of Romania, but Transylvania might ring a bell. Well, Dracula is supposed to be from here, so that might be a bit more familiar to anybody who's listening. I do run an interesting business, and I'm in touch with quite a lot of business owners on a daily basis. And as for what I do, it's mergers and acquisitions, just in short.
So I know that when we started talking about mergers and acquisitions, I was fascinated because I have not heard of a company that is involved with that. Now, the one thing that you mentioned is that you are on a certain side of the acquisition. You're not, correct me, but I believe you're on the buyer side of the acquisition. So explain how you ended up getting into this field.
Well, yes, it is true. We are representing mostly the buy side. We try to flip the tables, as we used to call it, regarding mergers and acquisitions, because everybody's trying to sell, everybody's looking to help us sell. But there's no one out there helping. We don't want to necessarily call it the little guy, but the buy side. I mean, it's not represented appropriately. And there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of brokers who want to sell businesses, but we realize there's a big gap in the market for people who are looking to buy. I mean, it's for the people who are buying is just as important. I mean, they're actually spending a lot of money. So we found it quite weird that there's nobody helping them out. And there might be experienced buyers out there and they might know what they're doing. Even for them, it's hard. It's a rather tedious process. I mean, even people who have done mergers and acquisitions once or twice, still, it's hard for them just to pick it up and run with it. If you think about it, a mergers and acquisition process lasts from between 3 to 6 months. It's not like buying something from the, 7-Eleven or anything like that. And there's a lot of things you need to take into consideration. So we decided to represent the buy side because there was just pretty much a gap in the market, and we thought that they needed representation as well.
So, and I appreciate your expanding on that question. I don't want to forget at the beginning of our discussion, your company name, Adnumus, it's very unusual. So can you share what it means?
Yes. Well, to be honest, we came up with the word. It's made up word by ourselves, and it's by joining two elements. The first is the ad, and that stands from advisory. We are an advisory company. And the second part is numus, which means in ancient Latin, it means money, capital. So if you make a quick translation, it would be capital advisory or advisory on financial things. I mean, but that's pretty much the surface. This is how we got with it. We do a lot of other things as well, helping our clients' growth, but we thought this is the name which represents how we help them.
I love it. I just absolutely love it. So,
thank you.
What are the main dangers when buying a business? Or, I know you had talked about how difficult it is to navigate, but from the buyer perspective, there are challenges. From the seller, there's challenges. So, talk more about the look-fors.
Well, there's a lot of pitfalls when buying a business. First of all, you need to know exactly what you're looking for. I mean, you risk spending a lot of time, efforts, and also money in finding the wrong business. But let's say if you get it right, there's a lot of things which can go worse, and unfortunately with business acquisition it can go busted pretty much every time, and you need to make sure that you do not skip any part of the process and you do not cut corners, because that's just a recipe for disaster. I mean, you need to go and ask the certain appropriate questions, because you're buying an entire entity which has contracts, which has people, which has certain mindsets in it. If it's not a good fit, you're gonna go the wrong way. And especially when appointing advisors, I mean, you need definitely a good accountant, you definitely need a good lawyer. They need to pick it up. For example, just one example which could go terribly wrong. I know somebody who actually ended up being bankrupt from buying a business because he got tied up into the wrong contracts. And if you're not careful, you're just setting yourself up for failure. Some people go through it too fast. They don't do the proper due diligence before involving everybody. And if you're in a hurry, you might miss out on a couple of important things. I mean, we have a saying in Romania that the operation was successful, but the patient is dead. This can happen. And if the seller pulls the wool over your eyes and you don't know what to ask for, because I could talk for 2 or 3 hours about things that could just go directly wrong, but you need to look at how the contracts are done, how the revenue is coming in, they have steady cash flow, they have long-term contracts, and who is leaving the business. Some other important elements are, for example, people going to retire from the business, or important people are going to retire from the business. There's just so many things which can go wrong. This is just, I know, the first ABCs of it, but honestly, it's going in with the wrong advisors. So if you're in a hurry, it's gonna go bad.
So we talked about what could go wrong, but I guess I should have started with the question, why would someone be interested in buying a business? And obviously there are people might want that as an investment, but there's a lot of other reasons why someone would buy a business. And so what's an advantage of buying a business?
Okay, that's a very good question. You're right. It is for the investment side of it, one element. One important element from my point of view is maybe they just want to be their own boss. Maybe they're tired going and doing the same work for somebody else, and they believe they can do better. And I've done this with a lot of people. They realize, look, we've gathered some money, we want to go out on our own. If you think about it, the fastest way, I mean, if you own a business, maybe you want to be your own boss. If you're already owning a business, the fastest way to grow your revenue is to buy another company. I mean, you could simply just double it within a year. I mean, you can grow organically, and that's one way of looking at it. But think about it like that. If you want to start up a new business anywhere you want to start it, you need to find the right people, set up the business, go search for clients, find out who are the appropriate people to speak with. I mean, if you have the opportunity to buy it there directly, you're saving yourself a lot of trouble, because you already have something set up. Businesses fail mostly in the first 3 years. After 3 years, they got something going, and instead of going through all the hassle and wasting the time, it's not just about the money, it's the time that you don't really want to spend. Why not buy something which is already profitable from day one? Yep. Maybe, and it's just not you might not just be doing the same thing. You can also buy a business which completes your current skill set. Buy something that's complementary to you. Our clients are asking us for this. Well, we don't want to, set up a whole marketing team. We'll just buy a marketing company and take revenue out of this and sell it to our customers as well. Honestly, it's mostly grow, but it's not just the whys, it's also the why not. Because if you're not paying attention to growth, think about it like this: your competition probably is. And if you do want to stay ahead, especially in these times, because they're difficult times, let's not kid ourselves, you do want to have a strategy in place, and you do want to continuously grow. Maybe you want a strategic partner, maybe you just want to grow, maybe you're just looking to exit and bring some capital in. But this is why I would consider it's the fastest way of growing a company.
I definitely appreciate everything that you're saying. So how has COVID impacted the merger and acquisition world? Still going strong or kind of doing a shift? How is, because again, there's that climate that we're talking about.
Yes, definitely. And no matter who says what, COVID has had a huge impact, and it cannot be denied. Now, regarding to business performance, and I'm not talking about layoffs or anything like that, I'm just talking to business performance, it's not as bad as it's feared. I mean, the agencies we've spoken to generally have around 20 to 50% down on revenue. Of course, there's no doubt about that. Some industries have been hit much harder than others, much harder. But we're seeing a couple of very clear sectors which are starting to come back on the market. I mean, the sellers are very afraid right now that if they come in and they look for a buyer, that everybody's going to think they're desperate and they're trying to sell for no matter the price. But that isn't necessarily the case. I mean, the lockdown period has had many businesses become even stronger. There is a time for consolidation. The businesses who are able not only to survive, but find a suitable strategy going further do get the appreciation that is needed by the buyers. And buyers are coming forward as well. I mean, private equity companies, for example, this is what they do. They're not going to stop because of COVID. Yes, of course, they're going to be careful with their money, but this is something which has always happened. It's not something new. But even more so now, they appreciate a business, a good quality business, which has the means to go out of the crisis and find the means to survive. So this is something which they do take in consideration. It has slowed down in the first couple of months, but there's new types of buyers coming, buyers who haven't thought about other acquisitions before, who are investing maybe, I don't know, going straight for oil. Now they're looking at other possibilities. They realize that there is a new normal and they need to invest in it. If you're not going to be part of this particular wave, you're going to miss it. And everybody says that, okay, crisis is a very bad time, but it's also a great opportunity for people to grow.
Yeah, I agree with you. So you're located in Romania, but do you work with businesses outside of Romania? And how do you assist them?
Well, of course, we work with businesses in Romania as well. I'm not sure if you are aware, it is booming in the IT sector, not only as well. But we work with clients on all continents. I mean, I've had clients from Bahrain, London, Europe, even USA. We believe that in this century, borders are just a thing of the mind.
Yep,
I mean, I'm talking to you right now. We're a million miles away, and
yep.
Communication is still going. I can see you clearly, I can hear you clearly, and hopefully your listeners can hear us as well. But we do business in Romania strongly. Here, we're focused mostly on the IT sector. I'm not sure if you've heard of Romania when before talking to me, or the IT sector, but for example, Forbes had a tweet which said that Romania actually has more IT engineers per capita than the US, China, India, or Russia.
Wow.
And you can just Google that up. There's a lot of strong IT companies in Romania who are right now located in the USA. For example, there's UiPath, started off in Romania, and they're now valued at around 7 billion, which is huge from my perspective, or Bitdefender, which is one of the top antiviruses you can have. They also started here. So we work wherever we get requests.
Yep.
We're sector agnostic. We do not have one particular thing which we work with. That's what we like, and that's why I like the diversity of the thing. It's not just one thing. It's mergers and acquisitions, and there's a beauty to discussing deals on every industry which is out there.
I agree. And for those that are listening on the podcast and those that might be watching on the YouTube, in case you're not aware of how a podcast works, even though many of you are, there's a little block of information that's above the podcast and also the YouTube. So there will be contact information, so that way you can reach out to Alex and his company, and you can learn more about what he's doing. And if for some reason you still have challenges remembering which interview it is, reach out to me, Jcoopertravels at gmail.com, and I will point you in the right direction. Any last minute thoughts, Alex, that you want to share?
Well, if you're ever in need of, I don't know, buying or selling, do feel free to give me a call or anything. Don't be afraid.
Yep.
That's my advice to anybody.
Yep, for sure. Now, for those of you that are still following the podcast, I want to tell you that there's going to be an episode 2 and an episode 3. The second episode that you can continue to listen, and if for some reason you're listening to the second episode, definitely come back over here to the first episode. But it's going to be about the travel, because Alex has traveled many locations. So since that is also a love of mine, and since we are in the travel space of Jcoopertravels, we're going to be talking about travels in just a quick second. So continue to stay on to the podcast, listen to the second episode. And the third episode that will be also featured is going to be on Cooper Virtual Career Day. And Alex is going to talk just a little bit about how he got started in this and his background, because again, as we navigate our life and our path, we sometimes end up in places that we didn't expect at the start. And it's very always exciting to see where we are now and in years to come. Thank you so much, Alex, for your time, and I look forward to talking to you in a quick second.
Thank you very much as well, and goodbye to everyone.